Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. To all of you, a warm welcome. Welcome to the Heads of Agencies event. My name is Uli Bobinger. I'm a German space and science journalist, and it's a great privilege, again, to be your moderator for the next 90 minutes. First of all, I'd like to introduce the representatives of the space agencies to you, and it's a great pleasure to welcome some well-known faces and also some new faces here on the floor. In alphabetical order, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome from our host country, the chairman of the Israel Space Agency, Mr. Isaac Ben Israel. From the United States, the NASA administrator, Mr. Charles Bolden. From China, the head of the China National Space Administration, Mr. Zhu DAZHE. The head of the Russian Federal Space Agency, Roscosmos, Mr. IGOR KOMAROV. Representing the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, Mr. KRISHA MURTHY. The president of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, JAXA, Mr. NAOKI OKUMURA. The Director General of the European Space Agency, Mr. Jan WOERNER. And last but not least, please welcome my co-moderator from the United Kingdom, Mrs. Elizabeth Seward.
So ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We have a very esteemed panel here for you today, and I'd just like to run through the format, which you might know from previous years. So we'll start with some short key statements of 4 minutes each.
Yes, we have scheduled maximum 4 minutes each, and this is tough, we know, but we want to save some time for our discussion here on the floor, and we want to bring in on your questions also. So 4 minutes each, and this bell, I don't know whether you see it, but you might hear it. This bell, and maybe you know this little instrument of torture already, will help me to remind you just in case if you're running out of time. So if I have to do so, please allow me to apologize in advance already now. Maybe if interpreter is involved, time will be extended a bit, but not too much.
So after that, there'll be a short discussion led from us on the podium, and then we want to open the floor to you to ask questions. So you may have had a piece of paper when you arrived, or we have some volunteers in the audience who are handing out paper and collecting questions. Can you put your name, affiliation, and the question? If our volunteers can raise their hands so you can see them. There's some at the sides on either side, so you can attract their attention. We'll try to answer as many questions as possible, but we can't promise to get through them all.
So, thank you very much for your attention. Now we start with our round of statements, and we will begin with our host, with the Israel Space Agency, with Mr. Ben Israel. The floor is yours, and the 4-minute countdown, I'm sorry, is counting.
Thank you. I look at the panel here together. I think we represent something like 2 billion people. I say together with Israel, although we are only 8 million people. And we should know our place. I mean, we are not as big as other agencies here, and therefore we cannot do everything in space. So we chose to focus on 2 areas. One is small, or better said, light satellites, high-performance observation satellites, lightweight, high-performance observation satellite. This is because we are situated in a place, I mean, we can launch only westward, which is not logical, as we know, and therefore we lose a lot of energy. We had to reduce the weight of our satellites, so invested a lot in lightweight components, satellites. Even the screws in our satellites are hollow. And the other area is communication satellites. In lightweight or small satellites, We would like to go further to reduce the weight from the current 300 kilograms to something like 100 kilograms without giving up performance. And we would like to go to nano satellites. Last year, Israeli high school built and launched a nano satellite, even high school. And we would like, and we are working in the Technion University on Samson, which is in a constellation of some satellites working together, nano satellites for rescue. On the communication market, which is the biggest one, as we all know, we work in, especially on R&D, on research and development, in two areas. One is to make communication satellites more digital and to offer some unique performance that cannot be found elsewhere. And then another direction is make it all electrical. You can see here at the exhibition few components which relate to this, like electric thruster and things like this. And we are thinking also on medium-sized satellites which can be launched by, not by heavy launcher, but let's say Vega type or something like this, and can then slowly raise to the geostationary trajectory. I think this is 4 minutes.
Just 3, but you can save a minute for later discussion. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Ben Israel. And now we turn over to the other edge of our floor, turn over to NASA. I know this 4-minute rule seems to be impossible, but Charles Bolden, water on Mars and blue skies above Pluto seemed also to be impossible, so I'm sure you will make it. The floor is yours.
Well, you covered 2 of them, so I won't have to mention it. But let me say, I want to just talk very briefly about
keep the mic
the
near
highlights, if I can, of this past year. And they focus on Earth, Mars, and commercial support to low Earth orbit and the International Space Station. And our big point has been trying to measure the impact that we have on all the people we serve, whether it's our partners or whether it's our own citizens in the United States. We've been pursuing, as all of you know, several fronts on our journey to Mars. And that also encompasses a lot of work in low Earth orbit. But we're trying to move out to what we call the proving ground that's operating in cislunar space in the next decade. Last year, we were really proud to have the announcement that Boeing and SpaceX had been selected to carry astronauts to the International Space Station beginning in 2017. And also this year, we made a tremendous announcement in the names of 4 astronauts who have been assigned to be the Mercury 7, if you will, of this present era, because they're the first astronauts that we've assigned to fly on commercial spacecraft. And 3 of them will actually be the test pilots for the 2 vehicles, since we'll be flying both crew members on SpaceX Crew Dragon and one of the 2 crew members on the Boeing CST-100 Starliner. Science and human exploration continue to bring nations together on the International Space Station, and we were incredibly proud to be a part of this year international crews that included Americans, Russians, Japanese, Italians, and Danes. And just 3 weeks from today, we'll celebrate the 15th anniversary of humans living and working in space on the station. Astronaut Scott Kelly and cosmonaut Mikhail Kornienko are now more than halfway through a 1-year mission aboard the station that ends this coming March. And since we last met, I think everyone knows, but just in case, our Orion spacecraft, in which astronauts will again travel to deep space, flew for the first time farther than any spacecraft rated for humans has traveled in more than 40 years. And it performed incredibly well, and we're now comfortable that we're on our way. This year, we also made progress on the Space Launch System rocket. We actually completed test firings of the development stage of the upgraded RS-25 engine, and we'll start testing on the flight engine soon. We announced more details on our asteroid redirect mission, where we intend to use solar electric propulsion to actually help us to further human expeditions to deep space and Mars, when we announced that we would actually be developing the technology that will enable us to grab a boulder from an asteroid and then move it into cislunar space. We're delighted with the engagement of people around the world, around the globe, with the New Horizons mission flyby of Pluto, and we believe that millions of people flooded the internet and had lots of questions and still have them coming. And then just 2 weeks ago, we were thrilled to be able to announce that the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter and the scientists working with it had discovered that there was flowing water in the form of heavily saline water on Mars. That we think that's going to be a huge deal for us. So lastly, we launched a new hub of the Severe Network, Severe Mekong, advancing the international network that's transforming data from space into actionable, practical information to improve life here on Earth. Look forward to talking to you about more of what we did.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bolden. So now I'd like to hand over to Jan Werner. Mr. Werner took over as Director General of ESA in July. So you have a new job, some astronauts on the station and the Rosetta mission. It's been a busy year for ESA.
Yes, thank you very much. And I will start with a quote of Albert Einstein. More than the past, the future interests me because I intend to live in here. Therefore, let's look to the future and what is happening in the next months to come. So we will have some more launches with Copernicus. We have Sentinel-3A for the sea and Sentinel-5 precursor for atmospheric investigation. We will have more launches with navigation, with Galileo, together with our Russian colleagues. We will have some scientific missions. One is ExoMars to follow also the other missions. We had already the Mars Express, and of course we are also looking to the results of the Americans with Curiosity and Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. But we would like now also to have the European mission called ExoMars. The first one will be launched at the beginning of 2016, the second one hopefully in 2018. Then we have in science a very special mission which originally was planned together with the United States. It's LISA. But we will start only with LISA Pathfinder right now, which goes back to Albert Einstein and the gravitational waves, a very interesting one. And then in the field of telecommunication, we will have a launch of small GEO and EDRS. And then, of course, human transportation and human exploration with Tim Peake at the end of this year, and then Thomas Pesquet next year. Both of them are flying with the Soyuz, together also with Russian and American colleagues, showing again that international cooperation is the bridge, even in difficult times of crisis, and I think this is a value space has, we should always observe. There is some development of the European launcher Ariane 6 going on in the next months, and also together again with the Americans for the Orion spacecraft, the European Service Module, which will hopefully fly also in some years together with Orion around the moon. For me, it's also interesting, for being new in the job, we will have a ministerial conference next year where the member states of ESA decide what to do in the coming years, so we better prepare it. We have in Europe the special situation between the European Commission and the European Space Agency. I call it now the United States of Europe. No, United Space in Europe, because this is much closer. So we will try to unite all the forces. But there's one aspect which I would like to mention here, beyond all these nice science and aspects. This is in Europe the aspect of migration. Of course, migration we can observe from space with Earth observation satellites, but this is the passive part of it. We would like to do something in migration to prevent the people to become refugees, so to help them in their state of origin, and space can do very valuable things over there. So therefore what we have to do is, and this is just part of it, defining the future of space together, meaning the roles of the different actors. We are here the head of agencies, but we should think about what is the agency of the future. I'm quite sure it's a different one. We should more and more also take into account the opinion of the broad society, not the ones you are, the people baptized by the water of space, but also in a broader sense, industry, science, politics, and society. And this is what I'm going to do in the next, let's say, 1 or 2 weeks. No, it takes longer than that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So now I'll pass over to Mr. Igor Komarov. You started as Roscosmos in January of this year, so it's been a busy year. Can you fit it into 4 minutes for us?
Thank you. Dear colleagues, I'm very happy to see you here in Jerusalem. And it's since the Congress in Beijing, it was last one Roscosmos took part. We had a lot of changes. As you know, first of all, I would say, just for practical reason, so to know whom you should address your issues and questions in Russia, to say about some changes that took place in Russia. As maybe you know that in July, President of Russia signed the federal law of creation of the state corporation Roscosmos. A state corporation is the public-owned entity that will consolidate all industrial state-owned assets in space industry, as well as the space infrastructure, ground infrastructure, so all cosmodromes, and research institutes and labs of this industry. Also, corporation will retain all functions of the current Federal Space Agency in what concerns public regulation of space activity. So we have entered a very important phase of reorganization and restructuring of our industry and the aims and targets of that is consolidation of our assets and increasing manageability and raising efficiency of this activity and reduction of cost facing new challenges and new companies and new, say, conditions that we work in. A few words about our current activities. I want to say that last year we had good results and make the first launch of our new, say, Angara launcher that represents a new modular launch vehicle family, which will eventually replace Proton in the future, and with some developments and improvements in the propulsion system, including use of hydrogen-propelled stages. We are going to use this to reach to reach Moon and use it in our piloted missions. With our existing launch vehicles from the beginning of the year, we have performed 18 space launches, which accommodated 22 spacecrafts, included 3 piloted. Till the end of the year, we have another 11 launches, and close this week is DOXAT. And as a sign of the quality of launch vehicles and their parts, we signed last year big contracts with our partners from the United States. And also it was a pleasure for us that for the creation of a new low-orbit telecom constellation, a contract with Arianespace, again, included our say, champion launcher, we say Soyuz. And we know that next week new contracts will follow up, and it would be a part, and it is a part of our activity, is support and strengthening our launches and our position in launching services and propulsion systems. As what concerns the science, I want to say that one of the priority is to work with NASA, ESA, and our partners to continue operations on ISS. We think that we should raise efficiency of these operations and attract company, private sector, to utilize the facilities that are created there. And it was a very important decision took place this year that Russia will continue operation on ISS till 2024. We think that it would be some impulse for other partners on ISS to discuss what is the future of ISS. And also, one of the key programs, as Jan mentioned, is ExoMars. We pay great attention to that, and hopefully in coming spring we will launch first part of this program. with the coming next stage in 2018. Also, I think that one of our priority is to discuss and to develop the program. Our principal position that it should be a common program that we create together and develop together with our partners. And what we see in the future, it is again our position that this partnership should be open not for existing members of ISS and partners on ISS, but other countries that will bring huge benefits for us, including other countries. First of all, I mean BRICS countries. So I think the next year we are going to discuss and what is next steps after low Earth orbit. And I think that would be a considerable part of our work. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Komarov. A lot of interesting points you raised. And now we are looking forward to hear something about the ambitious Chinese program. Is it Moon? Is it the Chinese space station? Mr. DAZHE, where are your priorities in the moment?
Thank you. 在过去的1年里，中国十分关注环保推进剂的这个运载火箭，还有应急救援快速响应的运载火箭，以及大推力运载火箭的研制。关注和重视卫星的应用以及升空探测。
The last year we have been focusing on the development of a new generation launch vehicle that is environmentally friendly and also with fast response speed. We also attach great importance to a large capacity launch vehicle development and application of satellite technologies.
过去的1年，我们共进行了18次发射，其中上个月成功的发射了液氧煤油的小型液体运载火箭长征6号和快速响应的固体小型运载火箭长征11号。
In the past year, we had conducted 18 launches, including the newly launched new launch vehicle Long March 6, which is using liquid kerosene and liquid oxygen, as well as the Long March 11, which is a solid boost launch vehicle.
我们计划明年发射就氢氧发动机和液氧煤油发动机组合的大推力的运载火箭长征5号。
We're expecting to launch the new generation launch vehicle Long March 5 with liquid kerosene and new generation cryogenic engine.
月球探测工程进展顺利，我们嫦娥5号计划2017年发射。
The lunar exploration program is going smoothly. We're launching the sample return mission Chang'e 5 in the year 2017.
我们还考虑增加一次月球探测的任务，计划2018年在月球背面实现软着陆，进行嫦娥4号的月球探测任务。
We will also perform an additional lunar exploration program. By the year 2018, we'll be launching a lunar probe, including a lander on the far side of the moon, which is called Chang'e 4.
我们也计划进行首次的火星探测任务，在2020年发射首颗火星探测器。
We're also planning to have a Mars mission, which will be slotted to launch the Mars Explorer lander as well as rover by the year 2020.
这次任务实现火星软着陆和表面巡视探测。
This will realize the soft landing as well as the roaming of our device on the surface of Mars.
中国的空间站计划推进也很顺利，计划在2018年到2020年完成空间站的组建。
We are also implementing our low Earth orbit space station program, which is include a series of launches starting from 2018 and completed by around year 2020.
中国政府把这个应用卫星的发展和卫星的应用服务国民经济社会发展作为重要的目标。
The Chinese government consider the application of satellite and satellite technology applications as an important part of the socio-economic development criteria.
亚米级的高分辨率对地观测卫星已经投入使用，新一代的静止轨道大型通讯卫星平台也启动研制。
We have already launched the submatrix resolution remote sensing satellite, as well as we have started production of the new generation telecommunication satellite platform.
中国政府已经批准了未来10年国家空间基础设施发展规划。中国将发射上百颗的对地观测、通信广播和导航定位卫星。
Chinese government has also approved a program which is in the year of 2015 to 2025. In the 10 years, we'll be launching a program called Space Infrastructure Program. This includes a launching of more than 100 satellites into orbit. These satellites in the categories of telecommunication, remote sensing, and navigations.
由35颗卫星组成的北斗全球卫星定位系统也将在2020年左右建成。
We're also completing our navigation system, constellation called BeiDou navigation system, which comprises of 35 satellites, has global navigation capabilities. It will be completed by the year 2020.
我认为航天应该加强国际合作，因为这是一个需要有大量经费支撑的项目。
I think international cooperation should be strengthened as this involves a lot of investment by each member state.
中国已经与30个国家签订了双边合作协定。去年底，中国和巴西联合研制的资源04星也成功发射。
We have established a bilateral cooperation agreement with more than 30 countries, and end of last year we have launched the CBERS China-Brazil Earth Observation Satellite.
中国正在实施"一带一路"战略，我们也愿意加强金砖5国的合作，共享航天的成果。
China is implementing the Silk Route policy, which is developing a one belt and one route policy towards west of China, and we also hope to continue our cooperation with the members of the BRICS country.
中国也欢迎各国参加中国的深空探测计划。
China welcomes all members, all countries to participate in the deep space exploration projects.
共同应对人类面临的难题。
And to encounter the same situation and issues that we encounter by humanity.
包括应急救灾等各方面的工作，包括环境保护工作，包括农业、林业、水利各方面应用。
This includes the application of space technology in disaster release, in environment management, forestry, water resource, and agriculture.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. DAZHE. For the moment, everybody saw you smiling when you mentioned the international cooperation, so I'm sure we'll come back to this later on. And now we come to Japan. Where shortly after the IAC in Toronto, we saw a brilliant launch of the Hayabusa 2 sensor on its way to an asteroid. Also, Japanese whiskey has reached the ISS, so a tasty Japanese space year this has been. The floor is yours, Mr. Okumura.
Thank you very much for the introduction. The first message from us is the Japanese government devised a new basic plan, which is lasting for 10 years on space policy in this January. Under this plan, JAXA is again defined as a core organization supporting Japanese government space activities. Recently in Japan, we suffered from a lot of volcano eruptions or severe flooding, resulting in big fatalities. How to prevent those? We'd like to use data from remote sensing. So one of the examples is decision-making data. It's used for decision-making of Japanese government. In the case of volcanic activities at Mount Hakone, Geospatial Authority of Japan and JAXA performed interference analysis using the observation data from EROS-2 launched last year and identified land upheaval up to 6 centimeters because of volcanic activities. This analysis was utilized for determining volcanic alert level and led to safe evacuation local resident. That is a concrete example. And another one is the latest US research reports based on the observation data by GOSAT revealed that the value of methane obtained so far from ground-based observation in North America was underestimated by 40% as a maximum. As you know, GOSAT is the world's first observation satellite for green gas measurement developed by JAXA. We are planning to launch GOSAT-2, having capability of emission measurement with higher accuracy. Regarding space science and exploration, we successfully launched Hayabusa 2 last year, and it is now heading to the target asteroid very smoothly. Recently, target asteroid officially named as Ryugu. Besides, JAXA is planning to launch X-ray satellite asteroid in this fiscal year. Concerning human space activities, Japanese astronaut Mr. Kimiya Yui has been staying at ISS as a crew member. For the operation of capturing Japanese HTV-5 in this August, Mr. Yui manipulated the robot arm on ISS, while another Japanese astronaut, Mr. Wakata, served as a communication leader at the NASA Mission Control Center, along with many other Japanese staff on the ground, which led to success of this operation. In addition, we are very happy to know Mr. Kanai was recently selected as a crew member for the 54 and 55 mission. With making use of those experiences in human activities, Japan will host the second International Space Exploration Forum, ISEF2, in 2017. I'm sure this will serve as an important place for discussing the international framework and common rules to implement future cooperation in space exploration, and look forward to your active participation. Speaking of Japanese next generation launch vehicle, it was officially named as H3 launch vehicle. We plan to launch its first vehicle in 2020, the same year when Hayabusa 2 will return to the Earth, and also will have Tokyo Olympics. Finally, let me introduce the APR SAF, which Japan has been organizing with Asian space agencies and relevant organizations. This year, the 22nd annual session will be held in Bali, Indonesia, from December 1st to 4th. It will be co-organized by the Ministry of Indonesia and also a space agency, LAPAN, then Japanese Ministry of MEX and JAXA. With the theme of sharing solutions through synergy in space, we intend to further strengthen collaboration with government agencies from each countries and international and regional organizations to contribute to solving common issues in the region. We look forward to seeing you, many of you in Bali. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Okumura. So our first round will be completed by Mr. KRISHA Murthy from the Indian Space Research Organization. You made international headlines with your Mars mission, MOM. So can you tell us more about your year?
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for this opportunity. It is my privilege to represent Indian Space Research Organization in this Heads of the Space Agency's plenary event. Mr. Kiran Kumar, Chairman ISRO, could not be with us today because of a Parliament committee meeting, and he conveyed his wishes to each one of you. It has been an exciting year for the Indian space program with many successful missions. We had both polar satellite launch vehicles as well as geostationary launch vehicles well in place, placing its satellites about 4. And then the polar satellite launch vehicle had a record now of 30 successful flights. And India has also added 2 more satellites in the last 1 year for its Indian Regional Navigational Satellite System. And this is now providing a position, navigation, and timing services over India and adjoining region. And also our satellite-based augmentation system, SBAS, named Gagan, has been certified for approach with vertical guidance, aircraft landing meeting the performance requirements of international civil aviation regulation bodies. And today, the non-civil aviation users have also improved in ensuring position and time information very precisely for every application. India's advanced communication satellite GSAT-16 was successfully launched by Arianespace from Kourou in December. GSAT-16 carries 48 communication transponders, the largest number of transponders carried by a communication satellite developed by ISRO so far. In December 2014, we had a GSLV, a next generation launch vehicle, which has successfully conducted crew module atmospheric re-entry experiment, and which was recovered after it splashed down in the ocean. And we had launched also our PSLV with 5 satellites from UK that has 3 DMC-3 Earth observation satellites. And the geostationary satellite launch vehicle Mark II with indigenous cryogenic engine also has placed advanced communication satellite GSAT-6. And one of the science missions what we had is ASTROSAT for the Indian space-based observatory for multi-wavelength observations of the celestial bodies and cosmic sources. And then with that, we had co-passengers from USA, Canada, and Indonesia. And the Mars Orbiter mission has currently completed 1 year, and it's working beyond its design life for 6 months, providing invaluable data for scientific community on the Martian surface and atmosphere. The emphasis of Indian space program has always been on integrating the advances of space technology and applications with the national development goals. Toward this, we had a successful national meet in Delhi as directed by the Prime Minister of India. All the departmental heads of the federal government and the chiefs of the 28 states and the 5 union territories, around 1,200 people, assembled and had a one-day deliberation on promoting space technology tools for good governance and national development. The Prime Minister himself spent more than 3 hours, and he has given his expectations and the way forward and suggested that there should not be any space between space technology and common man. We also place considerable importance on international cooperation for peaceful uses of outer space. Today, we have instruments of cooperation in place for 35 countries and 3 international organizations. We are working with NASA to jointly build a microwave remote sensing satellite, NASA ISRO synthetic aperture radar in NISAR with L and S band SAR. We are also in the process of building a satellite for the SAARC region to provide satellite communication services to individual SAARC nations, also for the disaster management support program. Towards this, we have organized a conference with a representation from all the SAARC region. And also under India-ASEAN cooperation, we have taken steps to establish a station to provide data from Indian satellites for a variety of applications, including disaster management in ASEAN region. As lead for the International Charter for Space and Major Disasters, we organized the 33rd Executive Secretary and Board meeting in India, and with the participation of representatives from 10 countries. As regional cooperative mechanism of UNSCAP, we offer technical support Sri Lanka on agriculture drought monitoring. With the satellite data which we are providing for the international community, the World Meteorological Organization Global Observing System, ISRO has been included as a new member of the coordination group of meteorological satellites in May 2015. We continue our capacity building efforts to the international forum. The UN Center operating from India, STEEP, has so far benefited more than 1,500 scholars from 52 countries. A new postgraduate course on satellite navigation is started from this year. We do have a busy calendar in the coming year with missions on Earth observation, communication, navigations, and in addition, space sciences. We are getting ready to launch 5 satellites from Singapore this year. Also, we have completing the constellation of 7 satellites of the navigation. And we plan to further augment our Earth observation and communication satellite fleet to meet our national requirements in the coming years, especially for the disaster management support and natural resources management. Our endeavor has been to ensure that our space infrastructure and resources are continuously augmented to enhance the social benefits to the country and with data sharing to the humanity. The host IAC 2015, I should thank them for their nice hospitality and the fruitful discussions to come. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Murthy. Any other speaker would have needed 10 minutes for your presentation. So thank you very much for keeping in time, and thank you, gentlemen, for this first round. Many projects are on the way. Let's focus maybe first on the future of human space exploration, which for sure for many people is one of the most fascinating topics in space activities. Mr. Bolden, the Orion program passed an important confirmation review this year. Congratulations for this. We all know this is a program which is made for decades. Nevertheless, the first manned mission obviously already seems to be postponed from 21 to 23. So is the program still in good shape?
Orion's still in very good shape. What we did, I didn't mention it, but what we just completed was what's called the Key Decision Point C. It's a milestone for any developmental program. We've now done KDPC for both SLS and Orion, so it's the first time since the space shuttle that we have actually been through a key decision point process like that. A couple of lessons I'll tell you. It's hard. It requires people to be truthful, both contractor and NASA. And it's where we come together and we look at the schedules and we look at work to be done and we make a decision on a commitment to two things. Commitment to cost, and I hate guessing, but it's somewhere in the $6-point-some-odd billion range through EM2, which is the first human flight, and then a 70% joint confidence that we can fly in 2023, but we're shooting for 2021. It will be very, very important to get the first flight of Orion and SLS off, which is we're not even talking about. But the big message I want to leave with people is we're trying to put together a program and not a series of flights. So that takes time, and you'll have to bear with us. That probably doesn't satisfy anybody. But Mike Hawes.
Thank you, Mr. Woerner. For ESA also, it's a milestone that the service module for the Space Launch System will come from Europe. Are you on time with the development for the first unmanned mission?
Yes, we are on time, and we are together with our American partners. We are, of course, checking all the time. If there is some delay, sometimes there is some delay, then we have to work faster. So we are on time for the first unmanned flight around the moon, so everything is fine.
That's it.
Okay, we'll ask again next year.
But we are interested, I can tell we are also interested in producing more than this one. This is the more interesting part. I mean, this is for me more or less gone, but we are interested in doing something more later on to use it also for BART element for future joint activities in human space transportation. This is the interesting part.
Yeah, you are followers with this. But also interesting is what you brought in when you came to ESA with the idea of the moon station. We already learned from China that's a project to have a lander on the far side of the moon, so you can have a shared apartment there.
Yes, we will have a shared apartment. We will look for the first common city hall and also a church, a common church. Of course, this is the misunderstanding of the Moon Village. I first started with very logical, maybe a German way of thinking. We were looking on what are the requirements, what are the wishes, what are the demands for future human exploration. And then after this we said, okay, now if we are just putting the requirements on the table, nobody will follow us. Everybody will say, oh, it's trivial. So I said, okay, let's have some ideas what to do. And after all, I put two ideas on the table. One was for frequent Earth orbit access for micro-G experiments as well as for space debris removal, and the other one, and this is the part you're mentioning, or is an international exploration activity. We all know that humans are strong enough to leave this planet, also we are all comrades astronauts on our spacecraft Earth, but we will leave this Earth in the future, maybe earlier or later, and there are some nice destinations. There is the moon, there is Mars, so the next step for us, from our side, might be the moon. And to go to the moon, it should not be a closed shop, but it should be an international joint effort where the different countries of the globe should bring in their special idea, their special competence, be it robotic, be it human, be it transportation, be it whatever, telerobotic. So therefore I said, okay, let's give it a name, Moon Village. And with Moon Village, meaning Moon Village, a village is where some people are coming together. In this case, some nations are coming together, some spacefaring nations are coming together, putting their ideas on the table, and not only on the table, but on the moon. And to make it even more interesting, I said, let's go to the far side of the moon. In the shadow of the moon, we can have a nice view to the universe. We can do all the things what we need also to establish later on something on Mars or wherever. So therefore the moon village is an idea, and I always say the better is the enemy of the good. So if you have a better idea, I will join. But if you have no better idea, there is one idea on the table, let's do it.
So it sounds like Europe and China have some common ideas with the moon and the far side of the moon.
There are more than China and Europe. They are more having the same. I know that US is interested in moon, that Russia is interested in moon, Japan is interested in moon, India is interested in moon, and Israel is interested in moon. Who is not interested in the moon? That's the question. Please, is there somebody not interested in moon? No, I don't see anybody. So.
Maybe I can ask Mr. Bolden specifically then. Would you join in the moon exploration?
If you look at what NASA has been, what all of us have been talking about over the last few years now, when you look at the plan to migrate humans to distances away from Earth, the U.S. has taken on its direction or its goal of leading other nations to Mars as the horizon objective, if you will. We're going to spend about a 10-year period of time in cislunar space as we migrate away from operating in on the International Space Station. That is time when the U.S., Russia, who knows how many other countries will get together and do lunar expeditions, both robotic and human. The point that I have been making to people is the U.S. does not have to be the country that says, we're going, follow us. We are going back to the lunar surface, but we're going to work to support someone doing that.
You already have some flags on the surface.
We're busy on the moon today. We're working with the Chinese and facilitating their success there. Chang'e 3, we collaborated and cooperated. We're looking at cooperation and support for them for Chang'e 4. We have supported all of our partners, but people need to understand, we're talking about budgets, you're talking about national will, and you're talking about politics. And the discussion that we had among the heads yesterday was we have got to improve our communications both to our governmental entities, but also to everybody in this audience that lets people know that we're working together, maybe not as well as people would like, but we're trying to get much stronger and much more cohesive in the story that we tell. So we are all going back to the surface of the moon. But it's just the United States has no intention of leading that effort. We will support and be along with anybody that goes.
So as we learned that everybody is interested in moon, we believe this for sure, we can have a quick round and maybe ask this gentleman, Mr. KOMAROV, stating, we can sign a contract here on the floor maybe. What will be the main idea to have an international cooperation with the moon? Could there be some with more than bi or trilateral things, just the next great international effort after the ISS? What do you think?
I would say that after ISS, we should continue work on the low Earth orbit, because we haven't completed all tasks and the problems that we may face. And we promote very pragmatical and practical way of developing that. So we think that for sure our future is in the deep space and deep space explorations. But we should solve very clear problems. That, again, very clear, it's one of them is new effective in-space propulsion systems, then new closed-loop life support systems, then methods to sustain crew health, including radiation problems, and some other issues. So we need low Earth orbit to solve part of these issues. And it is the more convenient and cheap and more effective way to solve this. Next, we understand that to develop technologies for far destinations, say, and missions to other planets, what is the target? What is, I think, convenient and not cheapest, but most effective, let's say. I prefer not cheap, but most effective target. So I think that's clearly for us, and we discussed with our colleagues, is Moon. And we need, so each of members of the country, so leaders of the agency sitting here, have technological ability to make missions to Moon itself. But what is the problem? That we had in the past all these cases, but we understand that we can make much more if we discuss and from this pragmatic point solve the problems and issues together. And we have different targets, preferences, political situations, but what we should do is to find the mode how we should cooperate to get together much more. And I am hope that it would be appreciated by people. So this is the way and what we think we should discuss in the nearest future. How we should not just save the money, but make much more that we can, each of us. So, for us, we should continue our work on low Earth orbit, and then next target should be moon missions that will bring answers for the very important problems that are not solved now. And we need to solve them before we go to more distant, say, destinations, you know. That's our position. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. DAZHE, let it be Moon or let it be low Earth observation. You're planning a space station by your own. Where do you see the international partners in the future? Are you totally open, or how do you define that?
中国一直主张这个在航天领域进行国际合作。
China supports the idea of having international cooperation in all areas of space activities.
现在我们正在安排的这个月球探测工程和后续的火星探测计划，欢迎这个乐意开展这些项目探索的国家参与。
The current undertaking of the lunar program as well as the Mars exploration mission, we are fully open to international cooperation. Whoever is interested or willing to join this effort, we open our door to you.
我们正在先行考虑的，2018年底左右到月球背面去走一走、看一看，就在和多国进行有效载荷的合作。
For example, the Chang'e 4 mission, which is going to land on the far side of the moon, we have been exploring possibilities of cooperating with many countries up to now.
我们也计划用这个项目呢，在国内呢征集我们青少年的这个方案意见，激发他们探索月球和深空探测的热情。
So we're also allocating certain payload rooms for our young generation domestically in China for the young enthusiasms to be part of this effort of lunar exploration.
我们现在面临的问题就是，首先要搞清楚我们还没有搞清楚的问题。
What we have to do is we have to solve the issues that we don't know, we're not sure what they are, which means we have to solve the issue we don't have knowledge of.
我认为深空探测有这么3层的意识。第一个，这个推动工程技术的发展，这我们能够进行未来更艰巨的挑战的话，给我们出了一个难题，人类要通过技术的发明、技术的创造，带动我们技术的发展。
So I think there are 3 major objectives for deep space exploration. The very first one is to resolve the engineering challenges and enable us to have the capability of going beyond the lunar, the Earth orbit.
第二呢，就是通过月球探测或者深空探测呢，我们认识宇宙，从而认识我们人类自己，认识地球。
The second exploration objective, of course, is to gain knowledge and in return use that knowledge in our environment.
我们做深空探测的同时，可能想到更多的是我们获取的技术来怎么应用于造福人类。
When we have exploration programs, what we think is how to better use the spin-off technology of those exploration projects for the benefits of humanity.
大家可能感觉到这个联系不是那么直接，但是我们空间技术的应用会给我们人类带来很多新的变化。
Even though you might think that there is a big gap between the application of those technologies for our daily life, but I'm sure that in the long run we will find the benefits of space exploration for the benefits of humanity.
未来的挑战，我认为月球和火星都是我们的目标，但是我们要一步一步扎实的前行。
Moon and Mars are both our objectives. We have to take a step-by-step approach.
你提到的国际合作，我想我们在座的各国的航天局长应该在这方面，放弃一些不必要的这个偏见，在这个航天这个领域加强技术方面的合作。
So when you talk about international cooperations, I think what we're sitting around this table right now has to abandon some ideas of prejudice and to work together with the same effort.
中国是开放的。
China is an open country.
谢谢。
Thank you.
And so, Mr. Murthy, do your plans go as far as lunar exploration?
Yes, you are aware the Chandrayaan-1, this is a collaboration where we had payloads from 3 different countries, including India 4, and that collaboration could bring out the water molecules, presence of water molecules on the moon. And we have the Chandrayaan-2, a continuity mission, which will go in 2017, which will have a orbiter, lander, and rover. And then for the Mars, the data, we are also with Maven, and we have a team which is collaborating in understanding the value of the data, the calibration of the information which is brought out. So we always look for collaboration in quick learning, and then together we can achieve better dimensions. Yeah.
Thank you. And Mr. Okumura?
Yeah, in fact, now recently the Ministry of Max responsible for R&D space issued a new report saying that Japan will go to moon in the near future by emphasizing some particular technological point, which are 3 points. One with pinpoint landing. Another one is after moon, we need deep space transportation. In this case, we employ larger steady steps. That means a step-by-step approach. Because in the future, you see, exploration will be quite costly and very risky. That means we need to be very careful about those issues. So then we think we need develop technology step by step, which means steady steps. So particular point we have is that we are trying to introduce leading edge technologies from non-space industries or wisdoms. That is our point to develop these technologies. And also, I would like to mention the one point after ISS. Even if we discuss after ISS, I think it's better to make more effort on ISS because we need more research outcomes on ISS or Kibo, Japanese module, to return to benefit to people on the Earth. Then we obtain people's support for further exploration. So that is, this is my personal comment. Thank you.
Mr. Ben Israel, when we talk about the future of space exploration, we have to talk about the next generation who has to do this. What are your instruments to inspire young people in Israel to start a career in the space area? I mean, a lot of your space activities care directly for society in the field of Earth observation mainly. So this is very important, but is this sexy enough to attract young people?
Thank you. One of the projects done by these young people, one of them is called Space IL. You can see it here in the booth. It's a group of young engineers participating in X Google Prize competition, trying to put a small satellite on the moon, transmit some video from the moon, then move 500 meters and transmit again. And this is done without government funding. These are the Rule of X Prize, based on the skills and capability of these young engineers to prove that things like this can be done not only by government and big space agencies and a lot of resources, but by a young, motivated enough group. I think this, the Google Prize competition is a good example of the transition. We are, in a way, in a transition time between government-owned space activity to someone of us call it new space, in which the industry, the civilian sector is taking more and more place, which, by the way, only make cooperation more important, and the involvement of this civil sector will make the game different, very different.
Thank you. Mr. Werner.
Yes, I would like to mention something in addition to that. We heard from Charlie Bolden earlier about the Mercury 7, the original, and now your new team. And maybe you all have heard about the so-called Apollo effect, which happened after or during the time of preparation and after the Apollo mission to Moon. There were a lot of people now entering science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And what I think, and this comes to what you said, we need another effect like that. And I call it now the Artemis effect. Why that? That's the female twin of Apollo, the Greek goddess, and it's a god of women and children. So what we need is also the full society, not only men, but also women and also the youth. We have to motivate them. And it's not only for space, but space can motivate people also to think about the future of our society on planet Earth. Because sometimes you have the feeling, if you read the news or see the news in the TV, that everything is really bad. And we need people who are really looking ahead. And therefore, I think what you are doing is exactly the right thing. And we should broaden it. Space should really pave the way for the future.
If I may, one comment. Exactly for attracting young people to science and mathematics, we made a survey trying to figure what is really attracting them. We found 3 things. Space was number 1, robots was number 2, and don't ask me why, dinosaurs was number 3. So the ultimate goal will be to build a satellite in the shape of a dinosaur and to land it a robot satellite and to land it on Moon.
Sounds perfect.
So we can open to questions from the floor, and this one is a little bit linked. It's from Kyle Asinero from iSpace Technologies. He says, ESA and NASA are working with commercial companies to promote the exploration of the lunar surface. So the question is to JAXA, Roscosmos, China, and India. What are some of the programs that you are doing to work with the commercial companies to encourage entrepreneurship and space commerce? So do you have any programs with commercial companies to help inspire and vitalize the...
commercial companies. What to do with commercial companies, how to involve them in space. Thank you.
Maybe I'll pass the question to Mr. Murthy.
In most of our launch and spacecraft, this thing today, we have a major participation of industry. And in the next coming years, we are going more focus on productionization of both the launch vehicle and the spacecraft. And maybe for the quality and the testing part is what ISRO will do, and in from to the future is what mostly the ISRO will be focusing on. But we are deriving a plan for productionization of the operational launch vehicles like PSLV and also the spacecraft. And it is a need of the hour.
I have to say something to you. I have to. Okay, after Igor, of course.
First, Mr. KOMAROV.
Okay. It's a bit complicated to say about encouraging commercial companies to promote exploration in the lunar surface. After saying that we've created state-owned corporation that unite all the assets, state-owned assets. But what I think, for sure, it's the right way, and that is the future to attract and commercial companies and private companies to support these activities. It's a bit different situation, as you may guess, from Europe and the United States in Russia. But what we see is we are going to start, and we're starting now supporting and give some initiatives to private companies in the sphere of services, information, motivate some research, maybe launching services for small satellites, promoting production and creation of small satellites, starting from that. But it's not the only way. It doesn't. I think that is not enough to make the strong business, private business, to support this activities. It should be regulated by the state. So business want perspective, profit, long-term contracts, and have the payback on their investments. You know? So these are the things that touch different spheres of the regulation. But this is the problem that after short-term targets we face now, we should consider, and we understand this clearly. I think there's this perspective of, say, several years. It cannot be solved just like this. But we see that we need to use some expertise, probably experience, and of our partners. And in the future, we see that for sure we should do this, if I answer.
Thank you. Mr. WOERNER. So maybe.
I think point out two points in this issue. In Japan, we are now having new ventures which is aiming to develop space business. So that is a new wave of commercialization in Japan. And also, actually now in Japan, we have two satellite manufacturers, two launcher manufacturers. But those companies are supported, technically supported by many small enterprises which have very nice capability of specific technologies like welding materials, manufacturing, and so on. The government have to nourish those small enterprises to increase the competitiveness of Japanese space industries. So that's why I think for incoming 10 years in Japan, we have many more still commercialization will occur, I hope.
I'm quite sure commercialization will come and is coming already. But we have to look onto what I call the chain of innovation, starting with very fundamental research to the final product or the final mission. And the commercialization will not be equivalent in all the different steps from fundamental research, applied research, development, product development, and finally the product. So it will be different. But it's very important for the future of space and for the future of science that this chain of innovation is a seamless chain. It should not have any gap in between. And what is also important is that we sustain always new incoming ideas at the very beginning from fundamental research and applied research. And therefore I see the role of agency will change totally Will we be more the enabler of space activities, not the micromanagers? And we will also the ones who are the guards of the seamless chain of innovation, meaning we have to look to the whole chain because this is a societal responsibility and not the responsibility of an individual company.
Thank you.
We need so-called disruptive innovation?
Yes.
Yeah, yes, I agree with you. Yes, no problem on that. Yes.
So on a different topic, I have several versions of the same question, and I can't not ask it. It says, apart from me, you are all men. When will we see a woman as the head of agency, and what are you doing to help this?
Well, that's a great question, and I think if you look around the world today, unfortunately, other than at DLR, where the head is now a woman. If you look at Lockheed Martin, you'll have Marilyn Hewsam in on Wednesday, I think. She is the CEO of one of the, if not the largest, one of the largest aerospace companies in the world. If you look at my partners, Wanda Segur is here from Boeing, from Lockheed. Oh, didn't mean to say that. From Lockheed Martin. If you look at my deputy, you know, David Newman is out here in the second row. None of this stuff happens like magic. We have to plan it, and we have to be deliberate, and we have to go out and find willing women, for one thing, and minorities. You know, I'm a minority, and I have women that I nurture, like my 3 granddaughters, but I want some guys that they can talk to, you know, who may look like them or something like that. So I do look at increasing the amount of opportunities for women and minorities and people who do not traditionally come into the aerospace field. And that's what we're doing. You know, Isaac talked about it. Every one of us has talked about opening up our field for opportunities. CubeSats. I love CubeSats because kids in elementary school, junior high school are now launching CubeSats. And they're taking the guts from a cell phone and they're doing Earth observation. We have got to make women and minorities aware of the opportunities that are there, and then we inspire them. But until we make them aware of the opportunities and expose them to those opportunities, then we're going to be like we are now, fumbling around, wondering when the next set of women are going to be sitting up here on this stage and taking over. I predict that very soon you will see some of us depart, and there will be a woman that takes our place very soon.
So personally, I'm not ready to change, just to make that clear. But as we are now looking for new directors at ESA, we have 8 positions open, and I can tell you out of 32 applicants, we have 9 females. So this is already a great step ahead, and I hope that at the end of the process we will have more female directors also in ESA. We have right now only 1, but the situation with the applications is not that bad. But you're right, of course, Charlie, we have to do something. It doesn't work from itself, so we have to do for it. We have to work for it, and not on the wrong side, meaning quota is not the solution, and just to say we take a woman even if she is bad, that's not the solution. But I heard when I was asking some female possible applicants, why are you not applying for the position? And she said, or some of them said, yes, you see, if you have a position opened, then a man is saying, okay, I can take it, no problem, I'm not in that field, but I can take it. While a woman, and that was what she said, is looking very in detail, do I fit 100% to the application? If not, I don't apply. If this is really the right answer, so I can ask all the women in the room, don't care about that, apply and you will have success. You see, I'm a civil engineer. Would you ever expect a civil engineer to be the head of a space agency? Of course, I did not fit, but it's fun. Okay.
Well, I got another question from the audience. Thank you for asking all these questions and bringing to the floor. This goes to Mr. Bolden, and it's sort of an old-time classic. China is ready to open it's some to any other countries for international cooperation. So what is your opinion about that?
I think I heard the question appropriately. And you know, it's important for everyone to realize here that we have what I consider to be a temporary interruption in our relationship with all the potential partners in the world. You know, it's not permanent, it's temporary. We continue to work through the Congress to collaborate with China through the Chinese Academy of Science. There are three things when I became the NASA administrator and I took my first trip to China to take a look at their programs. The three messages that I delivered was three things that we absolutely demand: transparency, reciprocity, and mutual benefit. As long as we can agree that we're going to do those things, we have to be honest with each other, we have to be open, we have to share data. So if you don't want to share data, then that's, you know, that's not reciprocal. So we took what I consider to be a very tough stance. Our Chinese partners said, sounds good, we can do that. And then all of a sudden it was terminated. But that's temporary, I really believe, because, you know, someone who follows me will pick up where we left off and where we are now. I don't want anybody to think we're not collaborating with China. That would be disingenuous and dishonest. But it's through the Chinese Academy of Science doing things that are beneficial to humankind, like earth science, looking at geodetics, looking at glacial characterization in the Himalayas. We had a US-Chinese team in Nepal when the earthquake struck. We worked together to try to help people there, and that happens around the world. Our militaries are doing that, so you know, you can take a glum look and assume that nobody's doing anything. We're all working pretty hard to, you know, to make these partnerships work, but it takes time.
Already an European astronaut is learning Chinese in the moment, which is a tough thing, I suppose. I would like to go to DAZHE. What is his opinion on this, about this transparency, share of data, and so on?
我们支持这个中国科学院与美国相关的研究机构开展合作，但是我认为这只是一个局部的。我们希望波顿先生说的这个暂时性的阶段越短越好。
We support the Chinese Academy of Science and its cooperation with NASA and other organizations in the U.S. We believe that this is what we call a regional and temporary. We certainly hope that this temporary time frame could be short.
中国和美国，中国和其他航天的大国，在合作方面，中方是没有障碍的。我希望，刚才波顿先生谈到的障碍问题解决得越快越好。
I certainly want to express that China has no obstacle whatsoever on the transparency and other issues that you have mentioned, and we have no obstacles and no difficulties in terms of our cooperation policies to other agencies. So we certainly hope that those obstacles can overcome very quickly.
我认为中国、美国航天界的同仁都希望在这方面加强合作。我们应该共同努力来破除我们现在遇到的一些障碍。
Just voicing on behalf of the space community between the two countries, I think the community people have all their desires, strong desires to have bilateral cooperation, and we should work together to overcome all those difficulties and limitations.
Thank you.
Let me make one quick statement, because this is a statement for the U.S. mainly. I think if you asked for a show of hands on this podium, there would be one that would not go up when it came to who's talking to you know, Mr. Zhu and the Chinese National Space Agency. It would be mine. And the reason I think it's that where we are today is temporary is because of a practical statement that we will find ourselves on the outside looking in. Because everybody up here who has any hopes of a manned spaceflight or a human spaceflight program, they want to get their astronauts and cosmonauts and taikonauts flown. So they will go to whoever will fly their people. If we're not collaborating with everybody, we'll be on the outside looking in. And everyone will be going to Shenzhou and, you know, all this other stuff.
There's one question also going into this direction. Could it be made possible to create an international flag so there will be no quarrel about which flag should be put on the moon. So we can think about it maybe until next year, but some amendments from Jan Werner.
Yes, so first of all, I have to say that ESA, as it is already international. I mean, we have 22 member states plus Canada already sitting on the same table when we are discussing our projects. And I have the feeling, and I hope that nobody is opposing it, that ESA, with its position of having already international character inside, is at the same time a good enabler, a broker, a mediator for cooperation between East and West, North and South. I don't mention the countries right now. We have to look what is happening with water, with energy, with resources. All of these are so general, and we better have a general global view to solve it together, and space can do a big job for that. And we should not try to say, okay, we have some problem with this or that country, let's go ahead, that's the solution. And I'm sure that the youth will not understand if we are stopping at any national border.
Mr. Komarov, you already mentioned in your presentation in the beginning the looking for new partners with programs. You mentioned the BRICS states. So do you think that also it must be a totally open program when we look forward the international human space exploration, no exclusions? Also your opinion?
Thank you for this question. That is one of the key principles for us, that our cooperation in open space should be, again, open for the partners, though the partners should follow very clear rules. And that is clear again. As for the cooperation with the BRICS countries, I think that it is natural, it is important for us. And we develop it in some spheres that exactly, if you look at the territories of our countries, so it is natural to discuss our exchange of information and working together as for Earth observation, because we face the same situations that sometimes we see with the population we have in particular, with emergency situations, the problems we face with the pollution, and some control of the projects. That what we already agreed partially, and that we will continue our cooperation. I think it's quite natural. Also, we signed the agreement and develop our work together with China on the navigation systems. Actually, it's quite obvious and clear that we need to work together to improve this quality of the signal and to get the benefit for our countries and for our people. And this is initial steps. And we, again, are open to work with the different countries, knowing that we can find some benefits that we can develop and get more, say, benefit for our countries and for our people. That is, again, I want to say that my belief is that cooperation in space should be open, though it should follow clear rules that we are open to discuss, and sometimes very direct and clear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So an interesting question, because I'm not sure of the technicalities, but do you support the effort to nominate the ISS partnership for the Nobel Peace Prize to publicize the global value of international collaboration? Is it a good way to get the public to understand?
I would certainly support, if my European member states in ESA support a continuation after 2020.
Now, when we come to a conclusion round, we planned to ask you, distinguished gentlemen, something like when we meet again in Guadalajara next year, what will be done? But we got a very much smarter questions from the audience. Thank you for this, Andrea and Luis. Name the greatest achievement your agency will have accomplished, hopefully, by 2030. Just one sentence, maybe starting with Mr. Ben Israel. The final round, give us just one idea when we meet again in 2030. Hopefully we do earlier, but in 2030, what the Israel Space Agency will have accomplished up to then.
That's a tough question. Only one. Okay, I would say something like this. I'll be happy if in 2030, space generally and the things we do here in Israel will be as secured and non-defense in a wise as it is today. And I'm speaking especially against this new cyber threat, which can easily kill everything we do. Everything we do is controlled by computers, and mainly computers in ground stations. I'll be very glad if in 2030 we will be able to sit here and to say we did something to avoid this very worst scenario.
Thank you. Mr. Murthy, what goal ISRO has achieved in the year 2030?
Yeah, it's a tough question, but I would like to put in this way. We would like to look at how the technology will be useful for the betterment of people in terms of quality of life. But however, we'd like to explore in space, because that is what enthused the young minds, which are back home, more than 1 billion population. That's what we would take, yeah.
Thank you very much. And China, just one sentence maybe.
到2030年，我想我们应该拥有自由进入这个外太空的运载工具。我们的航天活动和人类，我们国民自己的利益更加紧密地联系在一起。
So by the year 2030, we would have more free access to outer space with various capabilities, and also bring the space benefits for our population in China.
Thank you. Mr. KOMAROV.
It's only difficult to answer this question, like to say what is the meaning of the life, you know. So I would say different ways. So my highest dream is that Russian people feel the same, have the same feelings and proud of and honor of space activities that we conduct and the programs that we make, like they were in times of Gagarin. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Okumura?
I think on that time, Japan will be a major player, still a major player for developing exploration based on the particular expertise. To do that, I hope more companies or more young people try to enter the space world. That's why, based on to do that, I believe international collaboration is quite essential. So also we have to nourish young people to work internationally. Thank you.
Mr. Werner, your one greatest achievement by 2030?
Yes, my hope is that ESA, European Space Agency, is then accepted worldwide as the reliable partner for big international projects serving directly societal needs.
Thank you. And Mr. Bolden?
Well, unfortunately, fortunately, actually, NASA will be able to look back in 2030 and we won't be able to claim that we did anything alone. But we'll be able to brag about how we have helped people realize how to utilize assets, data, other information that comes from space to solve critical problems like water shortages and food shortages and the like, because that is one of the things that all of us are focused on, and that is the one common area in which we can partner with every single spacefaring nation in the world, is taking things from space for the Earth and making it better. So that's, I hope we'll be able to look back and say, we didn't do it by ourselves, but we were a part.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for this outlook. We do hope that we meet very much earlier than 2030. Thank you for these inspiring answers. Thank you for your questions. Thank you, Liz. Have an interesting afternoon now during your workshop. Thank you for your attention.